Alexis, you were tasked with putting together an ideal
right, everyone healthy
for Arsenal. So let us just preface that.
Yes.
This is just meaning everyone is healthy and available.
Yes.
Okay, before you get
best possible from both full squads.
Attacked by the socials.
It'll happen anyway.
It will happen anyway.
Social media knowledge, clip that out.
Ball knowledge, 100.
Yeah. So this is Arsenal's best possible starting lineup. This is the best possible.
No one's injured. Everyone's
It even says the word
available.
ideal right there.
Ideal.
Ideal. Look, there are some questions. Timber at left back, Ben White at right back. I think Ben White has played there, has shown his propensity not only to be a good defender, but to go forward. So I'm going to keep it this way. Calafiori is probably the player missing out here. But tough decision to make. Mikel Arteta has to make that, luckily, not me. But this is it. You got Martinelli, you got Havertz, you got Saka, Odegaard in the midfield, Declan Rice, and right now Partey, playing very good defensive midfielder. I thought his career at Arsenal was over after last season, but turns out he's kind of found his form again.
Are you sold on Martinelli? I feel like you had some not so great things to say about his play early on.
I think he's become a bit more incisive. He's become a bit more aggressive as far as driving at defenders over the last 2 matches. He obviously gets a goal recently, so in a way, Martinelli started to come back, but that pace is gone, and without that pace, I think he's had to find. Maybe it's not full pace, but just there's something about it where he just can't completely run past players like he used to.
Yeah.
So he has to find something else in his game. And I think he's starting to make that happen.
Okay, I'm asking the
not
other
fully
Arsenal
sold.
fan. What do you think of what Alexis put together?
Pretty solid. I mean, you can make arguments in 2 places in particular, which you brought up. For me, Calafiori would start at left back and Timber would be right back. And then Martinelli would come off and Trossard in.
Yeah.
I could see that. Okay, that was the ideal starting 11. I just want to
now here's your
hammer that point home.
Here's your ideal PSG.
The ideal PSG.
According to me, not their manager, because there's Dembélé. As we know, he's been left off the squad. But I think Vitinha is one of my favorite players to watch. Barcola's having a great season. Zaire Emery is showing a lot of growth. Hakimi, shockingly enough, takes I think the most shots on this team. He is for a right back is incredible. Marquinhos I think is also just a great center back. Probably not nearly at the level of Arsenal, this center back pairing, but Marquinhos I think is a standout. So I think you've got a lot to work with here. I put in Asensio as a striker mainly because that's kind of how the season started, right? You had BAD, you had Barcola, Asensio, Dembele playing incredibly well, making you almost forget that Mbappe was there. Asensio more of a midfielder, but starting up top. So I kept it the way it looked really well at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. Okay. Chuck, what did you think of Dembele getting left off by Luis Enrique?
It's not the first.
He's been very inconsistent.
Well, it's not the first time he's had disciplinary issues. So, one, his performance when he is at his peak, when he's playing extremely well, he can play in any team in the world. He's that good. He's that quick. He's that dynamic.
But he's not playing on this one.
Is he good enough to make the combined 11?
No, but his end product is the reason why PSG weren't able to advance last year, because you had an Mbappe that was probably surrounded by 2 or 3 players at any given time, and the space was open for Dembele, and he created the opportunities, but he just couldn't finish them.
They're also very unlucky. They hit the woodwork 4 times as well, and Ousmane Dembélé was a big catalyst in there.
Which means you're not finishing.
Yeah, I agree with you with that, but I think we need to give him
a
little bit of credit. I think more than he gets. So you talk about inconsistency. He's got 4 goals, 3 assists.
Well, that's why I didn't put him in my combined 11.
So when we talk about PSG, one player I want to make a case for, and I had this conversation with Ian Joy on Scoreline, we didn't put João Neves in. We're putting Warren, Zaire Emery in the team. João Neves has got 5 assists, which leads the team. Put him in that team, man.
Well, let's see if I combine 11. Let's put it back up so people can see what you're talking about.
A big reason why I say that this kid should be in there. He came from Benfica, and I watched him a summer ago at the Under-21 European Championship, and this guy's a deep-lying playmaker. And if you have him in there, that means Declan Rice, who is scoring goals for Arsenal, gets to play further forward. And for Arsenal, I like Declan Rice playing further forward this season, and I liked him playing further forward last season. Hence why Thomas Partey, him being in there, is getting the best out of Declan Rice. But João Neves, he is one to watch. A big reason why PSG struggled against Girona, Luis Enrique left him out. And when he came on the field, the game opened up a bit, and they got their goal, although it was a fluke goal that ended up being an own goal. But it was still João Neves, the architect.
Yeah, look, I don't disagree with you, but I maybe have a little bit more confidence in Gabriel and Saliba to be able to at least protect the back line. Because, I mean, to be the protection, you don't need any more protection for the back line. They will be pretty staunch. Look, you got Declan Rice and Zaire Emery. Yes, okay, there were some questions there. A lot of people going forward here. Maybe Declan Rice has to sit back. He has a bit more defensive actions per match. I put in Barcola at left wing, and I kept Saka over Dembele for obvious reasons. Saka being, leading the Premier League in assists. Havertz versus Asensio, I went with that. Look, you have two midfielders pretending to be forwards. I think Havertz is having a bit of a better run at it. He's got 3 goals and an assist this season versus 1 goal and 2 assists.
Okay.
I think there's a lot. Look, you can, your suggestion, Charlie, of putting in Calafiori and then putting in Timber at right back doesn't allow me to get both Hakimi and Timber on the team. And that's why I went that way, because I want to see Timber and Hakimi. Those, I mean, you could slide Timber over, have a 3 at the back with Gabriel, Saliba, and Timber, and you could have Hakimi rush forward and do what he does, or you can have Hakimi sit back at one point and Timber, we've seen him be able to invert and go in the midfield or even rush forward. I think it would be very versatile. I almost don't think there's really a wrong answer either, right? There's a couple players you could put in there where you say, this opens up this and this opens up that. For me, that is my ideal, all things considered, 11 if you combine the two.
So you have 3 PSG players that would crack that, which leads me to believe that you feel Arsenal is the stronger team, has the edge in tomorrow's Champions League matchup.
They should.
They should.
Yeah, as someone who's going to be there.
Is there anything that scares you about this PSG team in terms of how they might be able to hurt Arsenal tomorrow?
It's not so much, first of all, I think Luis Enrique is a wonderful manager.
Sure.
I think tactically he'll come prepared. I don't know that there's anything about PSG that specifically scares me. I think it's more about Arsenal and going into the Champions League. We saw them, get a draw in the last match.
How did you feel about the scoreless draw with Atalanta?
Frustrating, because I thought it was when you look at the schedule, these some matches where we all said 3 points. I think we ran through the schedule, we all said 3. At worst, we said a draw. I didn't think it'd be a 0-0 draw. And I think, look, if you're Mikel Arteta, there's not a lot of questions left about your management skill. One is locking up at the end of the season, getting it done, winning. The other one is Champions League. Can you do it in the international competition?
It is clear to me that they were thinking about Manchester City on the weekend. And that's what led to that.
Sure, but against a team like Atalanta, you should have been able to at least provide a little bit more attacking threat. Yeah.
Well, just like we saw with Bayer Leverkusen and Bayern Munich. In that scenario, you say, okay, I'm balancing two big matches. Obviously, you can't look ahead, but we also have to take into consideration, let's just save some of our legs. Let's not be aggressive and play higher up the field. And if a chance comes, they had their opportunity.
Yeah. And it's a long schedule. Look, we talked about you need what? We're thinking about 8 points to get into that knockout round.
Early days in the league phase at this point, but you also have to think that a goal differential could play a factor at some point. So you have to start thinking about that as well. But again, this is only match day 2 we're talking about.